Hi guys, it's Kelly here and I'm back with another video. Today's video is featuring some products from Pawsome Stamps. I am using their Loving Thoughts and their Sangria Time. And you may have noticed from the title that we are doing a scene card. An unlikely scene, but a scene card nonetheless. So this is actually for my sister's birthday, and I thought that this set was super fitting for her. This little sangria set, I thought it was super cute, and so that is how I chose it. Now, the flowers in the background, I just thought would be like a really pretty little add-on to kind of fill in the scene. And so I'm stamping on Eclipse masking paper because I am going to have to do a little bit of masking. This could be a completely one-layer card. I chose to pop up my sentiment, but you certainly wouldn't have to. But I'm not doing a scene card in the sense of how I normally would do it. Usually when I do a scene card, we talk a lot about scale and the size of things and how that makes sense. This card makes no sense as far as scale is concerned. These florals would have to be just enormous, just absolutely huge in order to be the same size as this picture of sangria. But it's okay to break the rules. It's okay to make a card that you want to make just because it's pretty and it's fun and you enjoy it. It doesn't always have to be a perfect perspective or size or shape or any of that jazz. It doesn't have to be any of that. It can just be something that you're happy with making, and that's what this card was for me. So here I stamped the little glass of sangria, and that will be in front of the picture. So I stamped it and masked it, and then I stamped my picture, and then I am going to mask that as well. But before I do, I'm going to second generation stamp it, just that portion, and you're going to see I'm going to do the same thing with the florals. There's a reason for this. So this, well, it is a solid tangible object. It is clear. It's clear glass. So you would be able to see through to the other side. So I need to have something behind it. Now, do I need it? No. Do I think anybody would miss it if it wasn't there? Not necessarily. I don't think anybody would be like, hey, Kelly, you should be able to see. You should be able to see through that and see those flowers. No, I don't think anybody is gonna say that. But I do know that you would be able to see them through. And so I wanted to show you how to do that in case you were interested in doing it. So I'm going to, with the mask on, I'm going to stamp my flowers down. And then I actually didn't get a great result. It had nothing to do with the stamp. I just didn't take my time to ink up those little middle areas of the florals very well. So I wanted to hit those again. And then I'm going to go in. I have a dark nail polish on. Normally I would just pick this up with my fingernail, but I was trying for the tweezers so that I didn't scrape my nail polish across my scene. So that's why you see me kind of struggling here. But then I'm going to remove that mask, and then I'm going to stamp the flowers a second time, the second generation stamping without re-inking. So that way the imprint of them will be very light in the background behind the picture. And then I'm going to do the same thing for the other side. I'm going to stamp it down with full ink, and then I will remove the masks and I will stamp the florals again, second generation, so that you can see a portion of them behind it. Was it really necessary on this side? I'm going to be honest, I don't really know that it was, because I already have the glass over there, and so you don't see as much of these florals as you do the other ones. But you know, when I'm committed, I'm committed. When I'm committed, I'm committed. So I just went ahead and did it anyway. And then that's going to give me my base to then start doing the rest. So this is the whole kind of scene set up, and now I'm going to need to fill in my glass as well as my picture with my fruit. Something to add with that, here what you see me doing is cutting apart the same masks I was already using, and it's just because I need the edge. I need that edge of the glass and of the picture, because I can't have my fruit be stamped outside of the picture or outside of the glass. So I'm just grabbing the edge so that I have a mask in place for those areas. And then if I need to put them back together, I can. I still have all the pieces parts to put everything back together. One thing to note here with the picture, I am putting the whole thing down to line it up properly because it is easier with with the whole piece to get everything where it needs to go. But then I'm going to go back in with my scissors and trim out the part that is over the glass because the glass is in front of the picture. So I wouldn't need to mask that area from the fruit. I hope that that makes sense. I know that one layer cards and masking can be very confusing for people, and I try my very best to explain it in a way that is logical and that will make sense. But sometimes I do think maybe I'm not doing the best job at it. So anyway, here I'm going to start stamping my fruit, and I'm not going to show you all of the stamping of the fruit because I put a lot of fruit in this picture. Just because it's fun, honestly. And so I'm just going to show you the process. So I stamp down the fruit that I want to be in front. In this case, it's a strawberry. And then I will stamp a mask for it. I will trim out that mask. I will put the mask down. And then I will stamp the next fruit that is going to be behind it. In this case, it's going to be a grape. So here, forgive me, I was kind of in the zone and I forgot to remove my strawberry. And so I had to reposition my grape, but no big deal. So then I picked that up, stamped that down, and that mask will protect the strawberry. I also masked the grape next and then stamped the little orange slice. So now all of the fruit is done. This is me removing all of the masks. And then we will head into the coloring portion. So I know it seems like it's a wild mess right now, that there's like a lot going on. And I mean, there isn't nothing going on. There is quite a bit here, but once we get the coloring in, it's going to start to make a lot more sense and it's going to be a lot less busy. Right now, with it just being all of the outlines, it does look a little bit crazy, but I promise you, hang tight. We are going to make it look so much more cohesive before it's out. So for the coloring of the fruit, for the most part, I just went with 2 color blends because I know that I'm going to be color glazing over top of it, which is the sangria color. Now we've talked about this before. I'm not much of a drinker, but my understanding is it's kind of like a pinkish fruit color drink, like it's a fruity pink drink. And so I know going into doing my coloring that I'm going to have a pink overlay on top of all of these colors. So I just went in, I did my darkest color and then my lightest color and blended those out. So when I am picking my colors, like for my blueberries, and just something to note also, if you have a lot of something that you're coloring, color everything do it all at the same time. It's so much faster. So like here I'm going in, I'm putting down my darks into all of my blueberries. And then I will go back in with the lighter color that I'm going to be doing my blending with. And I will do all of that color at the same time. It just makes it so much faster. But anywho, I would not pick this color for blueberries normally. That's too blue. Is way blue, but I know I'm going to lay pink over top of it, which is already going to make it more of a blue violet. And so the base color, I can't make a blue violet, or when I put the pink over top of it, it will be too violet. Does that make sense? So like same thing here with my red grapes. I went with a bit of a darker purple combination because I know I'm going to put that pink over top of it and it's going to lighten up those grapes considerably. Now, you could also do green grapes, but because I knew my drink, my liquid portion was going to be pink, pink and green are complementary on the color wheel, which means if you mix them together, they can make brown. So you have to be very careful about what greens you use. And I didn't want to mess with all that. So the raspberries is the same thing. The raspberries, normally I would have colored the same, like that combination as the grapes. But because I'm going to put pink over top of it, I went with more of a blue-violet combination. And then put in all my shadows and then blend it out with my lightest color. These are a little too violet. They look more like blackberries. Or I'm sorry, a little too blue. They look more like blackberries. But once I put the pink over top of them, they will look more raspberry-like. Here, we talked about the mixing of the greens. So how do you know what green to use? This is how I figure it out. So I give myself a couple of options, a yellow green, more of a true green, and a blue green. Then I go in with the colors I know I'm going to be putting over top of it, and I do a test strip. So while the blue green is the nicest one and would blend the easiest, it's going to give me purple leaves. I don't want purple leaves. I still want my leaves to look green. And so consequently, looking at my little test strip, I decided that the yellow green was my better option, that it wasn't going to look too brown, but it was still going to maintain its greenness. So that is how I picked that color. So don't be afraid to kind of like have a little scratch piece of paper and, do some swatches to see what's going to work with your color glazing and what won't. For the oranges, I used 2 colors for like the peel portion and then 2 colors for the orange segments. So I used a dark orange and a medium orange, and then I used a light orange and a yellow for the inside segments. And again, oranges play very nice with pink, so I don't have to worry about this being an issue. And then at this point, all of the fruit is colored, so we are going to go in with our pinks. And I know that it's going to seem really scary, but don't worry. We're going to go right over top of everything. Now, there was one mistake that I did make. And again, I'm happy to share my mistakes with you so that way you don't make the same mistakes going forward in your coloring your card making. So here, I'm adding shadows around the edges and toward the bottom, like that's going to be the darkest parts where there's the least amount of light. And it's going to be the lightest in the center where all the light is getting through that clear liquid. So I apologize. I'm zoomed in a little bit too far. It's closer than I would normally do. And so that's why I'm having a little bit of a hard time keeping it on the screen. So I apologize for that. But so I'm just taking my darkest color and I'm kind of flicking it toward the center. Not so much on the cup because the cup is going to be lighter since it has less liquid in it. And then I'm just going to work out towards the center, towards my lightest color. And I am coloring right over top of all of the fruit because the fruit is submerged in this pink liquid. And so you would see that pink right over top of it. The only exception to that is this cup right here, this little orange that is sticking out. That should have stayed a true orange. I didn't do that. I colored it pink. So that was my own doing. And that's what I would caution you against is just pay attention to anything that's kind of above that water line would not, it wouldn't have the tinge of the pink because it's not in the liquid, it's above it. Do I think anybody's really going to notice? Do I think my sister is going to notice and be like, hey, this orange isn't sticking out properly? No, I don't think she's going to notice. I don't think she's going to care. But it should have been orange because it is sticking up. My RV06 was running out of ink. And so I did take a little break to see if I could find my refill. And it turns out I actually don't have one. Can you believe that? I don't have a refill for my RV06. So you can see as I'm going through here that it's starting to get drier and drier. And I probably should have just skipped it and gone right to the RV04, but I thought maybe I could stretch it and make it work. Don't do that. It can damage your nibs. So just find another color that's close to it. So now here I'm going in, this is my lightest color. This is the RV04 and I'm filling everything in, making sure it's blended. And you can still see in the background, you can see those florals, which is exactly the point. So now I'm going in with one of the lighter colors for the flowers. I know I'm going to be making them purple, so I picked a lighter mid-tone to color in my flowers that's behind the liquid. The part that is that you can see through the actual clear portions, I will use the lightest color, not one of the mid-tones. And the same thing for the leaves. The YG03 is kind of a mid-tone, and so, but it's also super super light. So it was like enough to give me the greens behind there. But I still felt pretty comfortable using them for the actual leaves in the clear portion because it is a light green. Now, if you find that you've gone in and maybe your purple is too bold or your green is too bold, you certainly can go back in and do another layer of pink and it will knock it back. Here, what I'm doing is I'm cleaning up any areas where I got marker where I didn't want it, and I'm just using a 0 marker for that. And then here is me going in with the lightest color for the flowers, which is this V12. It's a very similar color to a V01. I just didn't take the time to refill my V01, but they're pretty similar. If you have one, you don't need the other. And then I'm just coloring in that clear portion where it would be, where you would see the purple through the clear. And then here, I just felt like the purple wasn't bold enough. And so I just went back in and did another layer. Remember, Copics are transparent, so you can build up that color. So if you're still not happy with it, just go over it again. For the outside of the glasses, I decided to do some light blues. And this is just to add some shading and some shape to the glasses themselves so they aren't that stark white. And these are very light colors. So I'm using a B02, a B00, and a B quadruple 0, just to add, like I said, a little bit of shading to the glass and kind of set them apart. I will also use the same color combination for the background when we get there at the end of the card, just because it just made sense to me. But anywho, so as I told you, this is for my sister's birthday. We celebrate her birthday's actually before Peanut's. So Peanut's birthday is coming up on Monday, but my sister's was this past week. But we have gotten into the habit now that we just celebrate her birthday on Memorial Day because we're already getting together for Memorial Day. And so that's why her card kind of comes after his, even though her birthday is before his. So speaking of parties, we did have Peanut's birthday party this weekend successfully. God was very good to us, and they were calling for rain all week on Saturday, and it did rain, but it stopped at about noon, and the party wasn't until 3:30 because we have to make adjustments for that nap time for little jelly beans nap time, and so it was done at noon. It dried out. All the little boys that came for his party were able to play outside for the majority of the time, which I was so grateful for, because when you see those like shirts or signs or whatever that say boys are just noise with dirt on it, that is accurate. They are so loud. Let's talk about this flower. So here, what I'm doing is I'm going in with my darkest color, and I am just adding in the shadows. This portion of it I will do at a slower speed, but then for the rest of the filling in of the flowers, I am going to speed it up just a little bit. I am working from my darkest color out to my lightest, and each time I'm adding a color, I am overlapping the color that came before it. So I'm putting in those shadows. And you can see the way that this floral is drawn. Pawsome Stamps they're actually really kind of cool because they have a lot of really cutesy stamps, but then they have a lot of other super fun stuff, flowers and cupcakes and things like that. I'm a big fan. Like, I really enjoy her imagery. But anywho, so there's kind of like little notches drawn into the florals. So I'm just accenting those. Why did I say accent? What? That was such a weird way to pronounce that. What is even happening in my brain? Accenting? Accenting. You ever notice when you say a word multiple times, it starts to get weirder the more time you say it? I'm going to stop saying it. Here's a little tip as well. If you're doing some masking, if at any point you're unsure of what you should be coloring, what color, just pull out your stamp set, lay it over top of it, and it will show you where all of the pieces parts go in their entirety. So that way you know what you should be coloring. So now I'm moving on to my darker midtone, and at this point I am going to speed up the video. This is also something that I wanted to address because not a lot of people know it. if you're watching on YouTube, there's like a little stopwatch style icon. If you click on that, it will allow you to speed up a video or slow it down. So if at any point you're watching one of my videos and you're like, this is just really too fast and I can't get it, just slow it down. You may want to mute it because it's also going to slow down the audio. So either I'm going to sound like Alvin and the Chipmunks or I'm going to sound like the teacher from Peanuts, but you might want to mute it when you slow or speed up. Some people watch my videos sped up because they are a little bit longer and they hear my story time while I say it like Alvin and the Chipmunks, which is fine. I'm sure that's very entertaining. I've never done it, but I probably should. So at this point, all of the coloring is done for the flower. I'm going to move on to the smaller flower and color it the exact same way. For the centers, I picked my normal yellow combination and just added shading to kind of the bottom of the stamen, and then again worked out to my lightest color. This was relatively easy shading because it's such a small area. In small areas, you don't need a lot to blend. So anyway, boys, noise with dirt. So they were a little wild and rambunctious, but it was good. The dogs were outside almost the majority of the time with them as well. And so they were nice and sleepy yesterday. Everybody was pretty much out of the house by the end of the party, which was right around 7:30. And so we were just left with, ironically, our two best friends, Brandon and Daedra. And so we were just sitting at the kitchen table talking, drinking some coffee. And Brandon made the comment jokingly, like, this is it, we're old people. Like, this is what we do now. We just sit around the table and chat and drink coffee. All we need now is pack of cards. So Nathan took that as his cue to get Uno, and then we proceeded to play the longest game of Uno I've ever played in my life. Here, I'm just showing you the darker color combination I used for the bigger leaves, but I colored them the same way as the smaller ones, so I went ahead and skipped that. At this point, in order to turn it to a scene, we need to ground our image. And this doesn't have to be anything spectacular. I'm just going to add a little bit of gray underneath this to give it the illusion of like a table or a countertop, a shelf, or something that it's sitting on. And then I'm going to do just a little bit of blue in the background up top, just to give it just a little bit more color. So anyway, so yeah, we played Uno. There was 6 of us. So it was Eric and I, my best friend, his best friend, and then our children. So my goddaughter and Peanut. And so we sat there and played, we played Uno. The last hand, I don't know if it's because there were 6 of us or because now there's this thing in there called shuffle hands. So basically, if you pull that card, everybody's hands get shuffled together and then it gets redealt. I'm not sure what exactly was taking us forever, but we played that last hand of Uno for an hour and a half. That is hands down. It was like playing Monopoly, but it was Uno, which honestly is always much more enjoyable than Monopoly. Some people are Monopoly people. My husband is, but I'm not. But anywho, so that was super fun to see everybody and, just kind of catch up with them because it's been a minute. It gets crazy when you have kids, and you don't always have time to do all of the things that you used to do when you didn't have as many responsibilities. But yeah, it was really nice to just kind of sit and chat and, hang out with them. And of course, it's always wonderful to see our families. Peanut had a wonderful birthday. He, played with some friends from school, from friends with the neighborhood. I think we had 8 or 9 children here. Which is, like I said, it's just a little wild. Here, I just went back in and added back in a little bit of darkness underneath the 2 items that are in the forefront. In order to make them stand out even further, I went ahead and outlined them with my, my fine liner. These are from Sketch Markers. These are the ones I've transitioned to since they got rid of the other ones that I really liked, the EK Success journaling pens. And then I'm also going to add some highlights with my white gel pen to the glass items as well as the center of the flowers. I'm just going to do some dots there. There isn't necessarily a right or a wrong way to do this. It just gives them a little bit more character a little bit more interest. You guys know I love a white gel pen. I put it on all my cards. Well, almost all. 99.9% of cards. And then in order to, again, add just some more shimmer, some more glitter, and some more texture, I'm going in. This is the Sparkle Clear Lacquer from Hero Arts. You could also use Stardust Stickles. And then I went ahead and heat embossed my sentiment. This is so fitting for my sister. May your birthday be filled with alcohol and bad decisions. I thought it was hysterical for her. So I did white heat emboss that on black and then trimmed it down into a label. Like I said, I am going to pop this up. You certainly could have stamped it directly onto the card if you were using forethought. I was not, so I just added it after. I just added it after the fact. And I just kept it kind of down and to the bottom so it wouldn't interfere too much with the scene we had going on. And then to further accent it, I used some rhinestones to the right and the left-hand side of the sentiment. Again, you guys know I love the shimmers. And which ones did I use? Let me look. They're both sitting right here, but I'm not positive 100% which ones I use. They're from Crafty Meraki. Crafty Sparkle, Sparkle Magic. Sparkle Magic Crystal. Those are the ones that I used for this one. And then that's it. That's the whole card. So I hope you learned a little bit of something. I hope you enjoyed story time. I hope you guys are having a great weekend. Thank you so much for your time. I always appreciate it. And I will catch you on the next video. Bye.